Hello, it's me, Jess. Welcome to my channel. I'm here with another channeled message. This is a specific message. It might resonate with you. It might not. All right. So I am picking up on a masculine energy and I'm seeing him sitting at a kitchen table and he is shocked and just fully alert. He's sitting like up straight, very straight with his back. His eyes are wide open. He's shocked. He's in a state of shock and he's trying to process what just happened is what I'm hearing, what just happened. He's really surprised. This is very much tower energy. And I do think that it is like hit his emotional space, but he is kind of dulling himself out to that. And he's processing this tower moment primarily on a mental level. And I don't think that is surprising because I think this guy is actually very mental. And within his system, I think this is like a subconscious way for him to keep himself from tapping into his emotions, like from his heart space and even like his solar plexus chakra and his second chakra. It's a way that he avoids those energies is by keeping everything like very cold and calculated and kind of on a mental level. I feel like this guy has a mental agility to him where, you know how a lot of people say that men don't tend to multitask very well? Well, this guy does actually. And he's really good at like compartmentalizing and strategizing and kind of plotting and twisting things. And so he spends a lot of time in his mind. Okay, how am I going to spin this? How am I going to hide that? How am I going to compartmentalize this? And it keeps him occupied is what this is. It keeps him from being bored. It keeps his energy from settling down too much where he might actually have to be like reflective, on his behavior and on his actions. So this is a guy who hasn't really had much time alone with his thoughts and with his emotions to actually process his lifestyle and his choices and his behavior and his actions. He just hasn't. And I feel like this tower moment on a spiritual level is kind of designed to get him in touch with that emotional space because it has hit him in the emotional space. I also think it's rocked his security in some way, like his home, his foundation, and his family. I kind of feel like this, I think for most of you, like his partner is leaving him and like just told him that she was leaving him. And he's really shocked by this. He's just stunned. He can't process it. He didn't expect that from her. And he's going over and over in his mind of like what went wrong. But when he's thinking about it, he's thinking about it on a mental level. And this isn't something to understand on a mental level. He needs to, this is something that has to be processed kind of more holistically. Cause and I think that he's like, well, how did this get out? Or how did that get out? Because this is a slippery guy who does slippery things and has many secrets and is, I think, usually pretty good at keeping them all like hidden or making something seem like plausible, but something's like really gotten through and he's shocked. He's shocked at like what she knows and how she knows it or like what she knows about him. He's shocked at her firmness and her taking this stance. He's really shocked. And so he's spinning his wheels kind of on a mental level and he'll keep spinning his wheels on a mental level because it's not solved there. And he'll eventually kind of tucker himself out. Oh my gosh. Okay. So this just clicked in for me. He might be going to Reddit, like to write something or like anonymously post something. And I think it's because he wants to feel justified. He wants people to kind of condemn her. And I think he wants to use like a moral system of like, can you believe that she is leaving the family and the marriage, and he wants to bring it back to that. And he's doing that because I think this is a man who has weaponized that against her. He's weaponized that against his wife. He selected her. Like he knew that she had that kind of framework within her, that she was very traditional, I think, in a lot of ways. It has to do with the home, the way that she's traditional, that she believes in like the house and the family and taking care of the children. And she believes in marriage and doing her duty and keeping her vows and like keeping her end of it. And I think this was part of like her mental torture. Ooh, I just heard this song. It's called Labor by like Paloma or something. I can't remember the band name, but it's such a good song. The whole thing is like, you make me do too much labor. But the whole thing is like an escape song because she's like, why are you hanging on so tight to the rope? Like she's dangling from the rope, like from an island, making her escape. And where like resentment is quietly built in her, where she's like, who tends the orchards, who fixes up the gables, emotional torture from the head of your high table. Like just, he's just this entitled prick and he just benefits from her sacrifice and her emotional torture and her labor, and this just kind of brews and brews and brews until she finally makes her escape. And I do feel there's been this kind of pressure cooker thing for her, because I think her spiritual lesson is like kind of her karma is like untangling that this guy is her abuser. I know that's like a really big word, but I think Spirit's unmasking this, because I think this guy doesn't like hit her, doesn't put his hands on her, but there's cheating here. And also I think this is a guy who like plays the victim, and no matter what, she, I think, is actually very tenderhearted. And so when he would play the victim with her, she would always kind of nurture him. But it's like, it's a manipulation tactic. Maybe she didn't understand that manipulation is abuse. And she doesn't understand that there's an intentional use. He's weaponized and weaponizing, ing in the continuous jest is what Spirit is saying. He weaponizes her beautiful heart and her value system, the things that she loves. This is a guy who sees that and then weaponizes it against her to control her, to keep her down, and to make her think it's her fault. And she doesn't understand this tactic, because to her, the way that he manipulates her and like puts himself forward is being this loving person. And the crazy thing is, I do think this guy does care on some level, but he's not tapped into that caring. He keeps himself separate in order to be selfish, because something here for him is like about control. And I just heard like head of household. It is giving that, like, but this is the guy who wants to be the ornamental figurehead, head of the household, but really she does everything is kind of what I'm getting. This is the guy who says he's the head of the household, couldn't run the household, doesn't know who his kid's pediatrician is. This is that guy, but he wants the ornament of the house and the wife and the kids, because it's about like feeding his ego. I'm hearing like inflation. There's something here to do with like inflation and conflation. There's inflation energy here. And it just feels like air, like hot air. This is a guy, there's not much substance here behind this guy. There's just a lot of tactics and a lot of facade management for him. And she's done with it. I feel like she was meant on a spiritual level to free herself from his mind games, from his mental torture and his traps, and to finally see that, no, this is abuse. It looks like all the responsibility is on her side. Like that's like the way that she sees it, because she is a personally responsible person. She's trying to show up. She's trying to do her duty. But somewhere along the way, she started pulling all the weight, and all she looks at every situation through the lens of like, well, what can I control? What am I responsible for? And this has been taken advantage of. And that is the weapon brandished against her. And it's really gross. It's really evil to take something so beautiful about a person, something they want and that they're willing to work and sacrifice for, and that they've trusted you. And he would have, I think, knew that he is this way, and I think that he does love her and he admires her and there's respect there and he does want to be associated with this, but he doesn't match her, So I think that he knew that he has this more like self-absorbed perspective, that he just thinks that it's his right. There's something here he thinks is his right. He's entitled to exploit women for their labor, whether it's their sexual labor, their emotional labor. He feels that women owe this to him because he's the man. And it's this kind of like, I just saw him like just leeching energy. I saw him sitting on the throne in the middle of his home, and I saw him sending lines, like almost, they look like veins, but they're glowing like red hot, like lava, but it's, they're pulling energy towards him, like from everybody and everything around him. It's like he thinks everything exists to serve him. He has killed God and placed himself in the center of it. He does not see women as people. He does not see them as children of God. Everything is his, like belongs to him. And this, like, I peed on it and now it's mine, kind of a way. And it's childish and it's immature. And this guy but he feels like he's got a right. He feels like very entitled. And he always knew this about himself. And I think he does, in a sense, equate this to a traditional kind of lifestyle. They have a very, this would be tricky too, because this is the kind of thing for her. Like if you sat down and you had a conversation with this man early in your relationship, she would have said things like, oh yeah, I want a family, and he would have said, yeah, me too. And she would say, oh, we're on the same page. But these two people view the traditional path of life as for her, it's her spiritual path. It's a place of service and of giving and of alchemy and of change and of devoting herself and her life to something high. It's beautiful energy coming from her. She devotes herself to to something higher, that what she sees is higher than herself. And what he's done is made her a doormat. And she never wanted to be a doormat. She does not have a problem at all giving of herself and sacrificing. And he made that a dirty word for her. He took advantage of her. And this is the guy that's supposed to love her more than anything, who's supposed to protect her and make sure. This is the kind of person that would stand up for you. I don't know. He seems kind of weak though too, like a coward. Like this is all he does is facade manage. So at least he would give the appearance of that, the bravado of like, nobody messes with my family. But I think like when it comes down to the brass tacks of anything, he just doesn't know how to show up because he's not that kind of guy. He doesn't ever practice a skill. He doesn't know the first thing about what it would take to stand up for his wife. And he also doesn't, because he's an emotional manipulator, he doesn't want her to catch on to emotional manipulation. So he doesn't necessarily stand up for her or call that out when she faces some kind of, and she might have a lot of that in her life where there's maybe at work or something. If she works, some of these people might not, because they're very traditional. And, but he would gaslight her experiences. Like not only is he not protecting her, he would like gaslight her in terms of like, oh, well, that's not really a big deal, because he kind of knows, he's strategic. He's playing chess in his mind. Well, if she ever found out about me doing stuff, I would want her to have this perspective. So I have to start nurturing that now. It's real manipulative, really, really slippery. And I'm seeing, okay, yeah, because this is where like I'm seeing this like Reddit post, because I'm pretty sure this was Reddit. I don't think that this was somebody in my life that told me this story. I'm like pretty sure. Where this guy was making this post where his wife said that she wanted to leave him. He had caught her out in an affair and he was having affairs himself, but he didn't think that she knew about the affairs. And I think that might be some kind of parallel in this situation where he didn't think that she knew about his affairs, but really she had known about them for a long period of time, but she didn't voice them because she kind of already resolved in herself, this lady that he was with on this Reddit post. But I think there's a lot of parallels in this situation. She had already resolved in herself, okay, well, I want my kids to be 18. I want them to be, out of the house. And until then, I'm just going to do my duty. And, did her duty twice a week, which to me just sounds so traumatizing and violating and horrible. Ugh. And he doesn't understand that that's the way that she sees him. He thinks that she doesn't know about his affairs, and that she sees him as the head of the household and her husband that's strong, and she has a lot of respect for him. He doesn't realize that she sees him as something she has to tolerate and put up with. She has to do her duty, and not for him or anything. She doesn't want him. I think she's like realized that there's nothing here for her. She's not trying to build this or save this. She doesn't feel it can be salvaged. She's just doing that for her children. I really do think it's like an act of service or whatever. So he doesn't understand that that's how he's seen. And I think that's part of the shock as well, is that by the time he finds out about her wanting to leave him, she's already really far out of love with him. And I'm hearing my grandpa in my head now, because he always used to talk to me about a lot of things. But one thing that he would say is, you always keep your word. That's all you have in this world is your word. And the second that you lose your word, your reputation for being a person who honors your word and can be trusted, then nobody wants to deal with you, and you cannot dig yourself out of any hole. And this guy doesn't realize that that's what he's done in all of his manipulation, because he's good at mind stuff and communicating, and this is how I'm going to put it forward. And all of that, it never dawned on him that your word and your integrity is a kind of currency between you and another person, and he doesn't have that with her. I think that's shocking, that he's eroded the currency between them. So, and in this Reddit post that I'm kind of remembering, was bragging about his affair partner, like on Reddit in the post, and saying like, oh, she's so sexy, she's so hot, this or that. But then goes on to say, well, I don't understand. If my wife knew about the affair, why wouldn't she confront me with it? Why wouldn't she throw down the gauntlet and say, look, I know about this. It's either her or me. You have to choose. And he was like, and I would have chosen her in a heartbeat. It's not even a hard choice. Even though this lady is attractive, it's meaningless between the two of us. It's just schmegs. With my wife, it's emotions, and it's this like heart-centered energy. And there's so much to unpack in just that one statement. And Reddit did lean into him, because that was a very hostile comment section towards the original poster. But the first thing is that a lot of people were pointing out like, oh my God, you are so cold. You completely lack empathy. You are entirely insincere. Didn't you think about how that would affect your wife? And he is like acting very cold about like, oh, well, it's just schmegs and it's just, she's just really hot. Like, oh my God. Like, did you think about how that was going to affect your wife? No, clearly not, because you lack empathy. And that kind of answers your second question about, why wouldn't she just throw down the gauntlet? Because that's the thing to kind of unpack. And I do think that's kind of like what's spinning his wheels. Like, why wouldn't she like behave in this certain way? Well, the reason is he's not good to his word. She knows that about him. I don't know if he's done this before and she's caught it out, but there's something she's kind of realized about him. It's that he's a snake. He's a liar. He's a manipulator. And so even if he says to her, I'm going to leave my affair partner, which, by the way, there's 2 affair partners here. One of them is really hot. And that person runs the show. It's real, real cute that he thinks that would be a decision. But it's kind of giving cool girl as well, like kind of casual. She's, and I think he's starting to kind of realize that she's manipulative, but he does not know what he's dealing with over here. She's not manipulative. She is a manipulation. And that is a mirror to him, because I think he's real good about presenting himself as like the dream guy, to his wife here, to where she was just totally flabbergasted and shocked as to what it was that she was confronted with. Well, that's what he's going to experience. I don't know that he's got it in him to fully wrap his mind around what she is in this lifetime, because I think he's processing through this, but she is that experience for him. I think what he wanted though was somebody on the side that was just, it was casual. It was really hot. So she positioned herself in that way, but she is the manipulation, and she's just better at it than he is. And it's kind of, reaction formation, where reaction formation is like pretending to be something that you're like not. She is manipulative. She is strategic. She is wanting to be number 1. She doesn't want to be number 2. And she kind of knows that despite how hot she is and how casual she is, she's kind of not chosen here. That if it came down to it, and maybe that was even said here, like, listen, if this is ever found out, like we would have to cut this off or something. I don't know, but she does tend to know that. I don't want to get too far down the rabbit hole here with this third party, but this third party does want to be the empress, like sees that image. I don't think she's saying that. I think she's saying this is casual. I just want friendship, but no, she wants to be the empress. But that's where he's got to be confronted with his own mirror in her as well, because the difference between him and his wife, and also this other lady and his wife, is that his wife is the real thing. His wife actually has values and like principles that she is pursuing, that she wants to, that's her rubric and her measure of success. Her success as a person is, no, I want to have a family and I want to live up to that. And so she pours herself in a real way into that. And this other lady is just a hollow shell. He just wants the ornament of it, remember? But he benefits greatly. He does actually care for his wife, even though he keeps himself separate from that in some way. But he benefits off of her labor and having like the ornament of the home and the family and everything. Well, this affair partner wants the ornament of it. So these two, I think, might end up involved. I feel like that would be his punishment. Might well end up involved because he's just about like facade, and he is trying to hurt his wife, regardless of what he says, because he's such a manipulator. But regardless, he is trying to harm his wife over here. And he's all about kind of winning and like competition. So they may well end up in a relationship together for the look of it, because he likes that ornament. He likes it looks like I have everything. And I do think that this affair partner lady, she grates upon him because he knows that she's hollow. And I also just heard that proverb, a hollow drum clanks the loudest. So she could just maybe never shut up. Like it might just be like incessant. But it might be about like hollow, meaningless things, because both of these people, this masculine and this affair partner, they're trying to approximate this home family situation. It doesn't come naturally or in I genuinely have a value or a principle of this from either of them. He may well have a value of that, but it's just, he's been so focused on his selfishness and manipulating around that it might be a real tower moment that, wait a second, I do actually value my wife and I value my family, and this ain't it. And it kind of pisses me off. It kind of grates against me because it's like she still doesn't measure up. Like this is not a fulfilling situation, but she might talk about, I don't know, meaningless stuff. Whatever these two think that people who are like have families or homes or something talk about, it feels like that's what it is. But so I feel like he'll have to be confronted, but he just doesn't know what he's dealing with there. But it's a look in the mirror. And actually, I think that this third party eventually is going to realize that what she wanted to siphon off of really actually came from this other woman. And maybe on a soul level doesn't want this cycle to end because she knows this other woman kind of builds it up. Whatever it is that she wants to be seen as, this other woman is the engine behind it. And I think he knows that as well, or he's going to have to be confronted with that, because maybe this guy, he seems delusional to me, like he thinks he's actually a partner here or something, but he's just not. Because what I want to say is that Imagine what these two could have accomplished together, like him and his wife, if he showed up, if he really was what he pretended to be. There really would be like no stopping these two. But he's not. He's the drain on the situation. He's like a lead balloon that's like, holding the situation back. But anyways, like getting back to what I was saying though, about what he doesn't understand, about why she didn't confront him with the affair. Very clearly to me, she knows that he's a manipulator and that his word is meaningless. So she's already kind of, it seems to me, made up her mind about it because she understands that like deeper truth, to where she knows if he says, okay, I am going to leave this affair person, that she could never trust him. She would never know if it was actually over or if he had just strategically put it on pause and they were going to start things back up later. She would just never know because he's that slick of a manipulator. And she has recognized that the man that he pretends to be isn't the man that he really is. And that's what he doesn't understand here too. I don't think this man quite realizes. I'm hearing myself say in a previous reading, and this was like over a year ago, this was a while ago, but I'm hearing myself say a phrase like, he cannot make himself attractive to both of these women at the same time. He thinks that he can, and the only way that he can is by facade managing. So this is giving double life energy. He's the family man when he's at home and he really puts on that facade. But then when he goes out, there's a lot of like partying, casual, fling, drinking energy, like over here with the affair partner. Then he's like fully that. But he's neither one of those things. It's just the facade managed. Now, the affair partner, like I said, there's not, neither of them have this like value system. They're not like values oriented people or principles oriented people. So I think that the facade thing kind of works. Like there's still maybe attractiveness there with this like playful thing, because what it is they both have their own hidden agendas. Their conversations aren't real between the two of them. And I think they keep them on a casual level in order to approximate a kind of accord or a kind of relationship, but they both have their own separate agendas here. And he knows what his is. He's using her for schmegs. And maybe she thinks that they're friends. And I think he will play up to that. Oh yeah, bud, but it's not that. Oh, it's just casual. No. It's not that way. She, though, has her own agenda that she will be enacting. But it's under the guise of like casual. I think that even if like these two split up, she might even say like, well, let's get you back together, like, because I'm just such a bro. Like, I don't know. There's that kind of energy over here. It's all a lie though. Because she's very undermining and she intends to undermine, but to do it from this manipulative standpoint. That's him confronting himself to the same degree that like his wife kind of had to confront the mirage that he had built of being like her perfect guy. But because he doesn't operate he's not like a values oriented person. And his rubric, as we've already seen, is he thinks he's a successful guy when he's like, oh, yeah, not based on, is he living up to his values and his principles? Is he what he wants to be? Like, it doesn't come from internal. It comes from using people, exploiting people, getting what he wants, even at the expense of other people. It's not an adult perspective. In my mind, it's not. It's giving like teenager. This is, I think for a lot of you, this is a man with like a wife and children. But that's not a part of his rubric of success. I mean, it is insofar as the image of it. It's very This is a superficial kind of guy. He doesn't understand about his wife that she's not that way. She's very principles driven. And so when she's attracted to a man, she's not just attracted to his like physical appearance or certain things about his personality or things like that. She's attracted to the fact that he is that provider. He is giving that to her, that he loves her and he's pouring into her, and that he is genuinely protecting her and showing up for her and her children every single day. It's the woman that gets turned on by that kind of thing. So once it's revealed that he's not that, he's just been pretending, there's a ding to the way that she finds him attractive. And depending on how deep his hooks are in her, like how much under his spell she was, like how long these two were together and that she bought into his facade, then when she finds out about it, I think there is, it's the stages of grief. And I think there still might have been an attraction there, but it's the kind that is annoying. And she would have had to keep reminding herself like, well, he's just not that guy. But once she kind of balances out her books, and gets him in alignment with what the account balance actually is. And money might be like kind of a thing here. There could be promises about that. Maybe he says that he's going off to work or something and there's just never anything to show for it. I think he also spends money, on this affair partner, going out, buying drinks, maybe vacations, secret getaways and stuff. So, money could be an issue here. I mean, he's just got such a great woman and, she should be rewarded with that or poured into. and is just exploited and used. And I think maybe settles for like the bare minimum because she's just such a good wife kind of a thing. Like, oh yeah, we sacrifice together. She's the only one though sacrificing for the greater good. And, but anyways, so I think that he doesn't understand that she's kind of lost her attraction, and that it feels like somewhere along the way, because this wife is understanding this more and more. And I feel like Spirit is helping. Spirit, I'm hearing this Jessica Andrews song from back in the day. It's an old country song. It's More to Me Than You. There's a part in there where it says, I'm not saying I'm battered and bruised, but I might as well be with the words you use. And I feel like Spirit was trying to wake up this woman and say, you're a battered woman. You know, that's the way you've got to see the situation. Because I feel like she was actually just very confused in the situation, confronting her own karmas, because she seemingly got everything that she wanted, but it's like not fulfilling. Well, she doesn't actually have a partner, but he's such a good job at he does such a good job at pretending and delivering her hot air. It's the emperor's new clothes. He's like, these are the finest silks. And like, really, it's just, he farted into a butter container and like handed it to her and was like, this is gold, and she was like, I can't help but feel that it's not gold. And, and so she's confused because she's told that this is a family situation but it's not. And there's like a double speak here. And I think people were pointing that out in the comments of like, he wants to say, well, this is our family. And, she's gone back on her promises. And no, you did, sir. You did, sir. She's reacting. You put her in a situation where she needs to heal. She's a battered woman and she needs to get away from you as if you were putting your hands on her. And I think this does kind of follow that pattern where, they say that guys that actually do lay hands on their women, a lot of that is they're intimidated. It's like a self-hatred, but they like try to knock her mate value. They want to make her feel and look more unattractive. So they want to give her a black eye so that they also don't want her to leave the house and to feel like increasingly isolated. And that pattern does play out here because I don't think he likes to see it that way. This guy's very mentally strong. And what he's done is he's taken his strength and he's turned it on his woman. His strength doesn't mean she's safe. His strength doesn't mean she's provided for. It doesn't mean that she is protected. And that's why Shiva's really coming through to me and saying, this is not a man. I don't claim him. Shiva rules over masculinity. That's a snake. That's an abuser. And that's why he's got to take a long way around. He needs to heal. He needs to become an actual man. He's just a snake that involves with other snakes. And that satisfies him. To be honest, that's all he wants. That's all he seems to want, is to be able to be a snake behind the scenes in order to get his selfish needs met. This is a man who wants to act like he is a leader at the head of the household. He wants that image. But in reality, he chases his dick like a dog chases his tail, and he couldn't lead his way out of a wet paper bag. And that's just the reality of him. And it would be very hard to be attracted to someone like that. And I think that's something he doesn't quite understand, is that is how he's seen by this lady. And even if it wasn't in the beginning, she just had to keep reminding herself, he is not that guy. He is out with other women right now. That's even when she was doing her duty, behind the scenes, she would just, until she balanced out her books, and he does not understand that. So the other thing about him is he's like forever 3 years old. It kind of feels like, again, in his going back to his question of, well, why wouldn't she, confront me about the affair? And then he conveniently puts the responsibility on her instead of where it should be, which is on him, because sir, you're a grown man and you're entering into a relationship where you know the steps, you know the dance, you know the way the routine goes, you know what a relationship is, and you know damn good and well the person that you married and what is important to her. You know that. So live up to it, and especially if there's a marriage contract here, you need your wife to tell you that you guys shouldn't see other people. You've got a literal piece of paper that says you shouldn't see other people. But he's taking this victim stance of like, well, why wouldn't she tell me? It's her job to tell me. It's her responsibility. Sir, it's your responsibility to manage and mitigate your own behavior. No wonder Shiva wants nothing to do with this man. He's like, I don't even recognize it as a man. I couldn't recognize it as a man. That's how far away from manhood this thing is, But I'm telling you, he takes this kind of I'm forever 3 years old approach, because it's like, well, if my mommy knew that I was getting in the cookie jar, why am I not in trouble? And it's like, this is not that, because your mom, when you're 3, is trying to raise you to be self-responsible, self-reflective, to mitigate your own behavior in a way that is cooperative, and to where you can have a healthy life because people want to be around you, and you can throw the ball back and forth nicely with another person. Clearly that did not happen here because you're an adult. No one should have to tell you not to be in the cookie jar. And especially if he's got kids, sir, you're expected to teach your children why we don't get in the cookie jar. Maybe that's what went wrong here, is nobody kind of explained why. That there are things that are more important than your dick, and there are things that are more important than your ego. And he'll say that, like in his post, he'll say, well, of course you're more important. But then he wants to put it on her like, well, you didn't even let me, choose you. You are a grown man. Men are ruled over by their actions. And I just heard from that song, it's like, the grass ain't greener on the other side. It's green where you water it. So why, sir, are you not watering grass over here? If this is your priority, why are you not investing in your priority? Why are you not mitigating your behavior? Because you can't. And for some, I think that's the case. I think there's an addiction here, but I think he's so desperate to see himself as a man that he refuses to admit he's got a problem. And instead, his mind wants to position his weakness. And there's a lot of weakness here, internal weakness. It's almost like he's an infant, like internally, and insofar as how he can, he's a caring guy. He does actually have that. It doesn't matter to you, though. He might as well not be, because he keeps himself kind of cold and separated out from that space. And I also just heard this real snake of a woman that's around him contributes to that as well. But it's under the guise of this real casual energy. Betray your heart. Don't live up to your values. It's not a big deal. It's literally the snake in the Garden of Eden. It's like, it's not a big deal. Who cares? It's just smags. Meanwhile, his wife's heart is broken irrevocably. He's damaged his word. This is extreme. This is like triage, right? Like on some kind of soul level here. And, I don't really know where I was going with that, but, he's just, I feel like there's an incredible internal weakness, where he's not operating well, inside of himself, and everything's kind of tangled and like not in the right place. Meanwhile, his wife, though, I'm seeing the strength card. She has a lot of internal weakness, but I don't think he saw that in her. And I don't think she saw that in herself, because she didn't realize she needed to be strong in the face of her man. That was just foreign to her. That perhaps the person that you're building a family with and a life with, and you share a bed with and a home with, and that's potentially your biggest enemy. The person that you need, that's foreign to her. And so I think that with this guy, there's a real underestimating of the feminine, and that plays out in his karmas, because he underestimated his wife, who is the power in their situation. She's kind of the reason they have anything that's enviable at all. And it's his job to protect it. And that's what I'm saying. There's nothing these two could not have had. And I think that's the thing that she knows. And he knows it too on some level. There's just nothing that these two could not have had if he was a man. But he just chose to be a snake. And there is a feminine quality to this, because, if you've been on my channel, you know that sometimes there's this man that cloaks himself in feminine energy. And it's like that here. I don't know. He's got a really weird, warped view of manhood, but because he overuses femininity and performance and glamour to approximate an image of a man in his relationships, but like in the world. Because all he wants is that like ornament. So he's like, he doesn't want to actually be the thing. He just doesn't. And I think that was the tower moment for his wife of, oh, I thought you were the real thing. And then it turns out not. And that's why nothing seems to work here. That's why like I'm spinning my wheels and nothing ever goes down. But she has been in this real quagmire of, I don't know what to do, because I love my family. I want my kids to have this or that. It's not like he's beating me. But man, I'm buckling under this weight. Like I have all this responsibility. I'm not really getting anything out of this situation. I think he even thinks that he's like sexual provider, but she's suffering through it. She's doing her duty. That's the way that she looks at it, because she's out of love with him and feels she needs to protect herself. I think there might also be a third party on her side that he sees. And that's the other thing here is, I don't know that it is a third party, because for some, I feel like she's just chosen to like focus on the kids, and maybe that's like a third party. But the third party energies here are just not the same. I feel like he started it, and it's out of his selfishness, and it's like he is doing things behind the scenes. And you guys know that I don't believe in like affairs and like third party energy. I think that if you're done, you should just say that you're done. That's what she was in a quagmire about, though, because to her, she has a real value of marriage and keeping her vows and keeping her word. And I think that's what she's had to work out here, is that she's above all else loyal to the truth and authenticity. Truth is, authenticity. She's got to like live her own life. She thought she was maybe protecting the kids. She didn't know the devil kind of put her in a position here where she had to choose like what she thought was protecting her kids, or like, living up to some kind of standard expectation and like the truth, and God is truth. And I feel like there's a paradox energy here that she had to confront, where this is not a normal situation. And I think that's even, the guilt that he may push on her, which he is doing on purpose, because this is a guy that knows that she's got those values and doesn't protect or tend them or work on them with her, just gives her an approximation of it. It's like a beekeeper that removes the honey and gives the bees the sugar water. It's highly immoral. He's intending to use that as a way of control. He uses her love, her heart, her value system, her principles. This is a very principled person over here, in order to keep her on a leash. And she had to work that out. That, wait a second, I think I'm in a situation with this guy. He says that he's my husband, or he says that, but he doesn't live up to the principles of it. He's not, in actuality, he is not that, actually. He's that in name only. And she realized that I think Shiva, weirdly, I think Shiva's come in for this woman, because this wife, he wants her for his men over here. Because she is seen as very valuable. She's like the total package here. And I think this guy kind of knows it, that this snake man knows it, and is intimidated by that, and is taking these shots. I'm not saying I'm battered and bruised, but I might as well be with the words you use. And I feel like it could be words of like indifference, or again, talking about how hot his affair partner is, or, oh, like it doesn't even matter to me. But if it doesn't matter to you, why are you over there doing it? Why do you risk everything that you do claim to care about? It's not adding up here, right? But it's the same as like, somebody taking a fist to the eye of like making somebody feel less attractive when they look at themselves in the mirror because your man's out like running around on the town. It's meant to do that. He might deny it. He would deny it. But, and he doesn't have much insight into himself. But yeah, this is about control. It is because he loves her so much. And she is really the whole package. Shiva can see that. And Shiva's like, there are a lot of men over here that would love to have you. And I'm trying to make sure that they're happy and fulfilled and that they get their karmas and like and you would fit that bill. So let's get you out. Let's get you cleaned up. I just heard you would benefit from having a healthy sexual relationship with someone where you are honored and you are respected and you are valued and you are seen as the prize that you are. And you protect a prize, don't you? You don't just have your prize jewels sitting out in the driveway. No. And I think this guy knows that too, because I think he tried to control her, like keep her isolated or something. But that's not what's going on here. So I think that Shiva is kind of really taking the lead here. And that's what this guy doesn't understand, because there's kind of an energy of like, okay, you win. This like snake energy man that's like out having affairs. It's like, okay, you win. And I think it's like when she moves on with somebody else, because he views that as her like playing a game. And it's because he projects his own innards out onto her, that, oh, she must be trying to make him jealous, and he's like, okay, you win, because he's like just longing for her. And I think in her absence that is the tower moment he needed to kind of put him in touch with his heart space. But the way that he's in touch with his emotions here, which is the only way that he's going to process through this, is I think it's first feeling like the longing for her. He feels like he's not fulfilled and that something's missing, and that this snake woman that maybe he's involved with for facade, or maybe there could have been a pregnancy here too. And it was like, oh, whoops, like I'm the cool girl, right? Like, of course I wouldn't baby trap. Nope. Because once that like empress kind of thing, and he's so switched off on the inside, is like, sure, I'll give you everything that I was giving to her. This guy doesn't have a clue, and he has no empathy. I think he's capable of it. He just doesn't apply it. Doesn't think these kinds of things through. She's getting exactly what she wants. And she's, if you're the wife here, she may well try to reach out to you or have a relationship or be friendly. My advice is to just stay away from her. This is a real, she's a problem. She's a snake. She's not nice at all. So, and she was always trying to undermine, and she still has the intention to undermine your relationships. I don't know if you're raising kids together, but the best thing is just to kind of stay away from her. If you've got to be cold friendly, no, you don't want to go get drinks. Like really just the boundaries, keep the boundaries. They're showing me the boundaries energy reflecting his compartmentalization. Compartmentalizing is not the same thing as having boundaries. And I think he felt he had an agreement with this lady about like where the compartments are, where the boundaries are, but he's not holding the proper boundaries. This kind of, he fits the description of an abuser, he's got a very warped sense of right and wrong, and he doesn't have values or principles, or he doesn't have the right ones. And so you're like holding that very strong boundary. But yeah, I feel like this guy, that's part of like what he's shocked is that, because with his affair energy, like whatever's going on the side here, he's attracted to them in a superficial way. I think the wife was like, well, good, at least one of us should be attracted to the person we're sleeping with. Boom. Because he doesn't understand where her attraction comes from and that she's either not attracted to him or she's just on her way of healing herself from that because her attraction to him is fake. It's built on a lie. But that's a meaningless situation. Whereas over here for her, whoever she gets involved with, and it might not be a guy, to be honest. It might be like the kids or whatever. This is, it's real. Whatever it is, it's real for her. And it's medicine because of their relationship was not experienced the same. He beat upon her, like emotionally and physically, or mentally, maybe physically. I don't know. This, to me, it's like, this guy's really strong mentally. And weaponized his strength against his wife, which Shiva is just saying, you don't do that. You never do that. He knows not to put his hands on her. So why doesn't that apply? He doesn't ever, this guy just doesn't really understand the heart of, as they say, the spirit of the law. This guy doesn't understand the spirit of the law and he doesn't care to because he wants to finagle. He wants to, instead of devoting his life to something higher, which his wife wants to do, he devotes his life to something lower than himself, his dick and his ego. His whole life is devoted to that. And that's what his actions show. And you should always believe someone's actions. I believe him when he says that he's not devoted to this third party. I really do. I think there's some self-esteem issues that need to be worked out there as well. Because she doesn't like to lose. She doesn't like to be second best. She doesn't give that impression, but that is how she thinks. And that is what she doesn't want. She knows that he would leave her for his wife. The wife is still number one. So she wants to try to overtake that. But she wants to approximate what that is. What being a wife is. But the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And she doesn't understand that, why it doesn't work and why she can never kind of replace her. And I also think that she's starting to, this third party, first of all, this the one that's hot, she doesn't know that there was another third party. She thought that he was just sleeping with her. But no, like even when there's another lady over here. She doesn't know about that. I feel like that also changes her mind about him because she just thinks she's so hot that nobody would ever, like she's just the top of the pops or something. Like there's some weird thing about that. But I also think that sooner or later, she's going to look at him as like, this sounds weird, but like not a good host. Like she wants to parasite off of somebody and she wants that like empress image. But because she doesn't, there's no connection of like, what that is, internally. Okay, well, I want to build a family and like thinking kind of back from that. She doesn't think about that. She just wants the image of it. She just wants to approximate it. So she hasn't really spent a lot of time thinking about what she wants in a man. And she will realize that it's not him. Like even from her superficial perspective of like, he's not the best person. He's not the best prey animal for her to have attacked. She'll realize that because I think she'll see a guy who is the provider for his family, kind of like the wife here. She'll find a guy that's more like the wife that actually does wants a family, and has actually worked to build that up. She'll find that and use her attractiveness, I think, to like have an affair and leave that situation. And it's just still so friendly and so casual between these two because nothing matters and whatever. And so. I also feel like for this guy, this like snake man, because he's all about his image. And I feel like it's just kind of, he wants to be seen as like the strong man. And I think I don't know, he kind of looks like a fool, I feel. Like there's something about it just like looks like a fool or, and I think maybe has to spend time alone because like I said, he's just so wrapped up in his strategizing. And it even could be like when he's with this third party, he's like still longing. Like there's a longing for his wife, this wife lady. He's longing. He wants to go slow. He wants to like show his integrity and his stability. And he wants to bring in some kind of an apology. But Shiva is saying you've got to go the long way around because Shiva is being very clear and saying this is no man. This is a snake. So the first thing is you have to become a man. This is kind of like he's got to become human again. It's almost like Pinocchio that spent too much time on like the jackass island and became a donkey, became a jackass. So he needs to not be a jackass. He needs to become human again. And he needs to go on some kind of journey. And part of that is connecting with his heart space and the tower moment that is there and understanding from the inside out, the pain that was caused, and understanding the depth of the loss of what he had, that this is a man that was truly given everything and didn't prioritize it, gives lip service to that priority, but he didn't give all of himself. And that's what you do. When you have everything, you give all of yourself to that. Very easily swayed off of his path for nothing. And I think also the schmegs between him and this karmic partner, when he starts to wake up to himself and starts becoming human again, this is the kind of thing where it's like, to think about being schmegual with her probably makes him want to cry or throw up or like have some kind of like extreme strong reaction. And they're kind of showing me like this, there's a Buddhist practice because in Buddhism, like you have to overcome craving energy and you have to like kind of dominate yourself over the world, which has a lot to do with like self-restriction and things. So they do a meditation where they peel, like in their mind, they peel back someone's skin from like the top of their head. They just peel it back and underneath it, it's just bloody bone and organs stuff. That's the reality of the human body. And they just kind of demystify it. And a lot of times they do picture a woman because most monks traditionally in the past have been men. And people have pointed out that that's not the best thing. So now people do both men and women, right? But it's kind of their approximation of that for him, of like, you threw everything away for this meat suit, and you got what you wanted, which was an empty hole, gross. And she got what she wanted, which is a facade, gross. Y'all are nasty. Y'all are seriously nasty. And this would disturb you. If you're a real one at all, this would disturb you. And that needs to be like confronted here. The reality of like what's going on. You throw everything over for skin. Ugh. And I do feel like he's on a kind of path now where he either feels alone in this situation, because facade's really, really important to this guy, the way that he looks. That's seen by this third party too. And so either he's getting some time alone or he's spending some time alone, and it's like with his heart space, with this like longing energy, and he's like kind of turning that back on. And the mind that's just spinning his wheels and of like strategizing, like, why didn't my strategy work? Like he feels victimized because his strategy didn't work. And I think he'll go over and over like, well, I thought I did this right, and I thought I did that right, and how did this get out? And he feels petulant and he feels angry because his strategy like kind of got out. But like I said, he's not going to solve this in the mind. He's got to dip down into the heart energy, and he's got to dip down into the solar plexus and the root chakras. He's a guy with a lot of insecurities, a lot of confidence issues. They both have that. And I think maybe staring in the mirror of this other lady, because they're both very similar. They're kind of hollow, superficial. They want the ornament of something. And they've debased themselves in order to get it, in order to realize that it wasn't what they wanted anyway. And it's leading to some kind of an awakening. And I think he actually has been put in the position that the wife was in. He feels trapped. He feels alone because now he's the one that's with a manipulator. That just seems like, and I think he's experiencing the same things, like the gaslighting that his wife experienced, but it's different with this other lady. The way that she does it is kind of different and better. She's better at it than he is. But he's confused because, again, I think now maybe he's in an abusive situation on like a mental level, but he's experiencing that, well, I don't know why it doesn't feel right, because the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Turn your heart on, sir, because it's not here with that lady. Start to understand what real importance is, and then build your life towards that. That's what you should have done here. But yeah, I think the roles have really reversed, and where he is, and yeah, he wants to just say to his wife, like, okay, you win. And I think that would just really seal the deal for her, because she's like, I'm over here fighting for my life, trying to survive, trying to breathe, trying to be okay. And you just want to turn to me and say, like, you win? I don't want to win. I'm not trying to win. I'm trying to live up to my values. I'm trying to be okay. I've been hurt, and she's not going to give up this. If she is with somebody else, even if they started off as an affair, she's not going to give up that guy. He loves her. He pays attention to her. He protects her. And he doesn't take the stance in his relationships of, well, if I'm doing something wrong, my mommy will yell at me for getting in the cookie jar. And if she doesn't, then that's her responsibility. This is a man who takes responsibility for himself. I think this is the woman, whoever she gets into a relationship with, like if he's like an actual good person, this is the kind of relationship where he's just going to be shocked at how little it takes to please her and how much he has to remind her, like, well, I told you that I was going to do that, right? So that's what I mean. I said I was going to do it. I said I'm committed to you. So I'm committed to you. And it's healing her neuroticism that was put there by this guy, and just dealing with real, like just a snake kind of energy, and being taken for granted, but it's worse than that because he knew what he was doing. He intended on some level with his strategy. His whole strategy kind of rests on the crux of I'm going to abuse you. It kind of rests on the crux of you have this values and you have this principle, and I'm going to weaponize and use that against you. I'm going to make you stay and take my abuse so I can get away with doing whatever I want. And you get lost in the quagmire of feeling that you're responsible and that why can't this just work? And then you invest more into the relationship. So it's worse than that. So anyways, that's what I have for you. If that resonates, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Bye.